We are reconvened from closed session at 6:45 p.m. We'll go to item 4A, Board Protocol. Good evening. The Board of Trustees of the Laporte Independent School District is now convened. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. Every student's success is our number one priority. As the Laporte ISD Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, adopt policy, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and communicate the district's vision and success to the community. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. School board meetings are open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. Audience participation is limited to the patron presentation portion of the meeting. Board members may not respond to the public comment section. These proceedings may be recorded, and I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. Thank you for taking the time this evening to join us and for your interest in Laporte Independent School District. At this time, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will join me in the pledge to the United States flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, we have our invocation be given by Mr. Russell Shopping, Board Trustee.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come together tonight with humble and grateful hearts. We pray for your guidance as we work together to strengthen our district and provide a happy and healthy environment for our students and all members of our LPISD family. I pray this, as always, in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, Board, if you're joining us down below for student and staff recognition.
Good evening. Lily Wynn and Elian Torres have been named the valedictorian and salutatorian, respectively, of the Laporte High School class of 2021. Also, Anthony A. Summer has been awarded the Certificate of Merit for advancing to the National Merit Scholar finalist round. He's among about 15,000 students who advanced from the semifinalist round. Let's give With that, I am going to hand the mic over to Carlin Grammer, Laporte High School principal.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. It's always a pleasure to be able to recognize our students at Laporte High School, especially for honors like this. And so I'm going to introduce our students once again and give you a little bit of information about them. First, our salutatorian, Elian Torres. Excuse me, I read that wrong. Okay. While at Laporte High School, been a member of the Student Council, the Eco Club, the Junior Class Council, Laporte High School Tennis Team, Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, the Laporte High School Orchestra, and was in the musical pit for Newsies, and he's also a member of the National Honor Society. He will attend the University of Texas at Austin McCombs School of Business, where he will participate in the Canfield Business Honors Program. And he will major in marketing or finance. Ladies and gentlemen, please recognize this young man for his outstanding. Next is our valedictorian, Lily Wynn. Lily has been a member of the Laporte High School Orchestra, the HOSA Club, the Eco Club, the Laporte High School Academic Decathlon Team, Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, the Junior Class Council. She was in the pit for the musical Guys and Dolls and Newsies, and she's a member of the National Honor Society. Lily is considering Baylor, Rice, and UT Austin to continue her education, where she plans to major in some variation of biology and eventually enter medical school, where she will become either a doctor of internal medicine or a general surgeon. Ladies and gentlemen, Lily Wynn.
Charlie, let's try to get him up here so we can take a picture with the board, okay? Yeah. Congratulations, my friend. Now we want to take a picture with y'all. Yes.
All the Longhorns are right here, and the only true Longhorn right here. Well, not true, but alumni.
3, 2, 1. Smile.
Yes, smile.
Congratulations.
Now, they do get to keep these medals at some point, but we have several more ceremonies, so I think.
We'll give it and take it away. That's right.
Next, we want to recognize an outstanding achievement by Anthony Sommer. As you recall, back in the fall, we recognized Anthony for being named a National Merit semifinalist. I told you then that we planned to bring him back if he was named a National Merit finalist. Well, here we are. Out of all the juniors who take the PSAT, 50,000 high scorers are identified. Only 15,000 of those students are made finalists, of which Anthony is one. That's about 1% of all testers who took the PSAT. So congratulations to Anthony on outstanding achievement. He's now eligible to apply for one of about 7,500 scholarships of $2,500 per year. Congratulations, Anthony.
Get in the middle of that, take a picture with you. Adam, are we done?
No. We have a little more. Got to catch my breath here. I'm doing double duty. Almost a year ago, school nursing in the traditional sense came to a rapid end. In addition to their regular full-time charge of overseeing medications, helping students who are ill, and those with chronic medical conditions, just to name a few, school nurses suddenly had to become COVID-19 specialists. The new duties include everything from prevention and mitigation to logistics and staff training. Laporte ISD honors its nurses for their tireless, I do mean tireless, perseverance over the past year to keep all of us safe from COVID-19. Thank you. With that, I would like to introduce Ms. Cynthia Anderson, our Executive Director of Special Programs.
Thank you. This is such an honor to be able to recognize you ladies tonight for everything that you do for this district. The first nurse that I would like to invite up here is Carrie Reif. Carrie is our coordinator of nurses. Carrie has been with the district for 11 years, working at Baker 6th grade campus, where I hired her, and Laporte High School before working in Laporte ISD. She worked at Texas Children's Hospital for 6 years on the cardiac unit. She has 3 children, twin boys who are 13 and a daughter who's 11. She loves to take road trips in the summer, and her favorite place in the world is Walt Disney World. Amanda West. This is the first year in the district for Amanda. She has worked for TIR, which is a brain and spinal cord rehab hospital, and she lived in England for 3 years. I asked them to send me a little bit, something of interest about them. You're going to learn some neat stuff here. Misty Prock from College Park was unable to be with us tonight. Misty was hired as a sub-nurse and shortly thereafter became the nurse at College Park. Prior to school nursing, she worked with adults in her specialty of cardiac nursing. She loves to wakeboard and do anything on the water. That's her happy place. Abby Turner. This is Abby's second year in the district. She previously worked at Texas Children's Hospital, emergency room, and OR. Mary Richardson. Mary's at Laporte Elementary. This is Mary's first year with the district. She worked you're not old enough to work 25 years. She worked 15 years with Pasadena ISD as a special ed teacher. Her other job is with Man Eye Surgery Center as an ophthalmic, I can put it phonetically, surgical nurse. Thank you, Mary. Crystal Thibodeau. Okay, this is Crystal's first year in the district. She was a NICU nurse at Bayshore Medical and East Houston for 8 years. She actually completed most of her prerequisites in education before changing her major to nursing. She knew that school nursing was where she wanted to end up. Laura Gent from Jenny Reed was unable to join us tonight. Laura has worked for the district for 24 years at both Bayshore Elementary and Jenny Reed. She graduated from Laporte ISD and is actually a Jenny Reed alumni. She has 2 grown sons in their 20s, a daughter that's 4, and a new grandbaby. She wanted you all to know that. Susie Parker. Susie's as the nurse at Rizzuto. She has worked in the district for 2 years. She was a paramedic for 20 years and flew on Life Flight. She taught paramedic school for Texas A&M. She has 3 sons, 14, 10, and 6. She has been on COPS 3 times and First 48 once while she was a paramedic. Now we have Debbie Moy from Baker. Okay, Debbie has been with Laporte ISD for 22 years. In her early years of school nursing, she worked on Norwegian cruise lines as a nurse for 2 summers. That's cool. She and her husband have recently built out a barnuminium by themselves. Guess who was the foreman? Hannah Westmoreland. Hannah's the nurse at LPJ. This is her second year with the school district. Before school nursing, she took care of newborns and mothers in the Women's and Children's Department at Memorial Hermann Southeast. Valerie Marcotte, Lomax Junior High. This is Valerie's second year in Laporte. She worked for 16 years at Texas Children's Hospital and MD Anderson for 14 years. She says she loves, it was all in caps, being an LPISD. Wanda Anderson. Okay, so Wanda has worked for the district 3 of her 8 school setting years. She attended Laporte ISD from 1st grade on, and she and both of her parents are Laporte grads. She is a 3rd generation nurse. Her daughter is 4th generation, and her daughter is also a school nurse. Next year, 2022, Wanda will have 40 years as being a licensed school nurse in Texas. Christy Cox, Laporte High School. This is Christy's second year with Laporte ISD. She's been a nurse for 13 years, first in labor and delivery, then the OR, and now as a school nurse. This career has truly been a blessing. Her other skill set is chauffeuring her girls all around. So these are our amazing LPISD nurses. Let's give them a huge sign of our appreciation. Ladies, if you want to go around and then you come over and pick out your cake.
But when you come back down, center up right here, I think I have a photo idea.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to shake y'all's hands, or at least give you a fist bump.
Which one?
I know,
The nurses want to get a fist bump. Come on. What you do?
I'll let y'all decide, man.
It's hard, right? Fairmont
God bless you.
I'll say hello the next time you're over there. All right? Thank you
Little kids, snotty nose, kids,
Well, I'm 19. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you so Thank you so much. Thank you for your service to our district.
Can't see the water, rub some dirt on her, keep going, drive on.
Gotta find a window, find between someone's head.
Any kid, anytime. Anytime you touch the throw a kid from the ball. It's like what my mama did. That Lomax Elementary School. She was. For years. Loved it.
Oh, she was the best.
I've never seen a lady that likes kids more than her.
Me? No, I got this thing right here, thank you.
My mom.
Oh, yeah.
Then she followed them all the way to the high school.
Smells good. This one smells good.
Yeah, this is a.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've never tried that.
And then I told you, I get you
I walked all the way down to our crew. Thank you.
Okay, We'll go to item 6, public comments. The board will now hear those who wish to make comments and who have completed and returned the public comment participation request. This section will be conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and board policy. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. Ms. Thompson, do we have anyone?
Yes, we do. Keith Hall from Premier Cryogenic Services would like to speak to us about consideration to bid on old bus barn property. Mr. Hall?
Welcome, Mr. Hall.
Good evening.
Good evening. First of all, thanks for letting me be here this evening and for recognizing the students and the nurses. That's very awesome and appropriate. My name is Keith Hall. I'm the Vice President of Engineering and Product Development at Premier Cryogenic Services here in Laporte. We're located at 615 North 6th Street. I addressed you last month. Today, our realtor informed us that the Laporte ISD had decided that they wanted to hold up on the barn property between 5th and 6th Street and Barbara Cut, which property we had expressed an interest in during last month's public meeting. And we certainly respect the board's decision, but would like to make one last appeal. We want to be a part of and grow with the Laporte community. Joseph and Judy Moriali moved their company, Westmoreland Cryogenics, to Laporte in 2004. Judy Moriali still lives in Laporte. Westmore was sold in 2014, and some of those jobs started leaving. And by 2019, Westmore, along with all those jobs, had left Laporte. The Moriali sons, Mark and Joe, started Premier Cryogenic Services in 2019, and the company is growing at an astonishing rate. We need more room to build more shop space. We want to stay here and be a part of the community we have grown to love. The school barn property is directly across the street from our existing facility. We could keep our cryogenic repair services where they are and build new buildings for our new endeavors on the bus barn property. These different product lines would not require any back and forth traffic across the street. If the final word from the school board is to not sell the property, we will reluctantly start looking for a larger property elsewhere and have to move our entire business. Moving will mean transportation cost and lost production time and associated revenue. It would therefore be in our best interest to submit a generous bid on the property, if permitted, that would take our moving expenses and lost revenue into consideration. We also understand that the property is likely to increase in value if the school board retains the property to sell at a future time. Looking at the appreciation value over the past few years, we can project an increased value into the future. There should be a corresponding value where the current value of the property plus the amount it would cost us to move intersect with the future value. That value would be what we would be willing to pay. The school district could receive the future value of the property now, and we could grow and remain a member of the Laporte community. To show our commitment to the community, if we are able to remain here, we would work with the school board and the high school to establish an endowed scholarship fund for a handful of seniors each year and make a commitment to offer 1 or 2 students part-time afternoon employment. We look forward to hearing from the school district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. We now move to item 7, superintendent's reports, and 1 on the budget update.
We'll start, first of all, Mr. Board President, we'll start with just an overview of a report, and then we'll have Wanda Anderson to come with a budget update, if you don't mind. So today certainly is a great day to be a Bulldog, and I'd like to begin by sharing with the board that the state of our school district is strong and vibrant. Students are learning and are actively engaged in the educational experience, and our teaching and support staff are all working hard to provide those meaningful experiences that bring joy to the art and science of learning in an academic setting. On Friday, March 12th, our students and staff will leave for spring break, and we certainly look forward to seeing everyone back on Monday, March 22nd. Just a few short weeks ago, the entire state of Texas experienced a winter storm that will go down in history as one of the most impactful winter storms in modern history. I'm happy to report that the district fared very well during the storm, unlike a lot of our surrounding school districts. We did have some leaks, but compared with the number of feet of water pipe and chill water pipes we have in our district, damage was minimal. The Ag Barn is an open air facility, so it did suffer a number of leaks, and we had some difficulty in finding parts for the repairs, so the water was off for a while. As you know, there were many of the folks looking for the same materials. Those leaks have been repaired now, and we are back up and running. Other leaks throughout the district were repaired quickly, and the areas were cleaned. Our HVAC technicians were very busy after the storm, checking all the facilities and resetting equipment. Several heating coils were found to have leaks, and the coils were either repaired or replaced. Approximately 500 man-hours were used in checking and repairing all the buildings and making the needed repairs. But our staff did a great job in getting us ready to start school on Monday following the storm. I'd like to take this opportunity, and I'd like to say, first of all, that I took the opportunity to go over to maintenance Friday and visit with all of our maintenance folks that worked during this time and offered my personal thanks and gratitude to them for the job that they did. But I would also like to take this opportunity to publicly thank our maintenance department and its leadership for their steadfastness and willingness to go above and beyond the call of duty to keep our school district operations running smoothly. I believe we have the best maintenance department in the great state of Texas. Please join me, everyone in the audience, in publicly thanking our maintenance department. A handwritten letter has been sent to each of them from my office, just thanking them one more time for all that they have done. On another note, the TEA has announced that hold harmless provision that has been in effect the entire year will continue to be in effect, which is essentially holds districts harmless for the negative loss of student enrollment for the year. We need that. As we all know, districts are funded based on the average daily attendance of our students. Without the hold harmless provision, districts could stand to lose significant funding for next year. So we're indebted to and thankful to the TEA and the governor and all of those powers that be that made the decision. Last week, school districts across the state were informed that teachers and support staff may begin receiving the COVID-19 vaccination. Our HR department is working with local health centers and communicating with our staff on how best to sign up for these important vaccines. And I'm also very proud to share with the board that we are working with our staff members just like we do during a voting season. If someone needs to leave work for an hour or two to go get the vaccination, we are trying to arrange for coverage because we want to send the message that we support this and that we're in full support and helping them to get there. Lastly, the state legislature is still in session, and there have been many disruptions to the session as there have been to school. However, Governor and Lieutenant Governor has outlined several legislative items that they would like to see happen this session. And tomorrow will be the very first day that businesses and public entities may decide whether or not to continue with the CDC guidelines of wearing masks and social distancing, as has been done for the last 12 months. The board will discuss this a little later on the agenda tonight, and this certainly will conclude my report to the board, and I'll entertain any questions that you have for me at this time before our Chief Financial Officer comes up. So at this time, we'll call up Ms. Rhonda Comby for her comments.
Good evening. Tonight is going to be very brief. Dr. Jackson mentioned the hold harmless ADA. Our hold harmless ADA number is 6,374.216. Currently, we are at 6385.07. That's through the first 4 weeks. 6 weeks. We have 2 more 6 weeks periods to go. Our numbers are declining as they always do toward the end of the year. They always get lower. So we think that we're going to end up needing that hold harmless number. Most districts already need it, and we think that's where we're headed. Our budgeted ADA was 6610, so you can see we're quite a bit under that, and that was even under where we ended last year. Our preliminary values will come in April 30th. So once we get those in, we can start projecting our revenues and things like that, and then we can start talking to you about what our budget may or may not look like. So until then, we have no way of knowing. Budgets are due from campuses and departments on Friday by the end of the day, so everybody's working on their budget, or a lot of them are already done. And then the only last thing I had is I wanted to talk about debt service, because last board meeting, Deanne asked a question, and when I walked away, I'm going, well, she was asking because we're getting ready to save $17 million, why are we coming with a budget increase? So my answer to that was, it was an error on the budget. We had picked up the wrong debt service amount, or I had picked up the wrong debt service amount.
Right.
But we're having another budget amendment for that. So I just want to explain to you what's happening is we closed today on the bonds, and we're still saving $17 million, but some of that interest that's due in August has come forward to today, the closing for those bonds. So our payment in August will be less. And then we'll start recognizing savings on 22-23 year, and it'll go down, and then the 17 millions will be spread through the rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's a great explanation.
I can get those amounts if you're interested, but it still is going to be a savings, and I know that was confusing, so I just wanted to. And then when I did another budget amendment, I go, I gotta explain this, so that's what it is. So that's all I have tonight, unless you all have any questions.
Could you speak a little bit to, you said we budgeted on 6610 ADA, and we're currently at 6385. I tried to write this down as best I
6385,
could.
correct.
Okay. Like how we arrived to that number, I think would be beneficial for two new board members to understand how we arrive at that number and
How we
how those
arrive.
change.
Okay, so our budget,
Or how the
the number
state
we
arrived at that
budgeted is
number.
kind of based on historical, where we're at, and it, like I said, it was lower. We anticipated a decrease. We were hopeful at the time we did the budget last year that COVID would not hurt us too bad on our, going forward on our enrollment, which it has hurt us more than we anticipated. So the 6385 is currently where we're at, and what you do is you take, 6610 was an estimate, as your budget is always an estimate. But the 6385 is currently where we're at right now. Those are actual numbers,
Those
so
are
we know where we're at.
Okay.
And, okay, so what we do is, each 6 weeks, we have a report that tells us what our ADA is, and then those 6 weeks are averaged together to get our ADA. So each 6 weeks kind of stands alone, and so enrollment is not really how we get funded. It's average daily attendance. So they have to be here. So we could have 10,000 kids enrolled, but if they're not coming to school, we don't get the money. So it's very important that we get attendance. And on our last 6 weeks, based on our enrollment, and I didn't look at enrollment for every single day, I just kind of looked at a couple days, and we're at like 88% attendance, which is really low. Normally we're at 95%.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of a perfect storm, and we'll just have to weather it out and see what happens.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions?
So, Mr. President, if I may say, and Rhonda, you did a good job of explaining average daily attendance versus enrollment. Our enrollment is much higher than that, but our students, you know, it's based on them coming every day. And I'll say that this has been an unusual year with COVID. Number one, we've had lots of kids coming and going with the quarantine, which is not what we're talking about here. But because this has been a COVID year, I don't know a better way of saying it, but we've just had lots of kids come at their pleasure. Yeah. And a few months ago, I told y'all about me chasing kids in Kroger and the dollar store. Not really chasing them, but noticing kids in the dollar store and other places. But right, but I guess what I'm also trying to say is, you know, all it takes is for you to go and get a sandwich for lunch, and you see kids walking the streets or at Sylvan, and so I don't believe, based on my conversations with superintendents in the greater Houston area and across the state, this is a Laporte ISD issue. This is a national trend, and you're right, Rhonda, we're just gonna have to weather this storm and pray that when we start back in August, everybody will go through a great reset, right? And so I think the whole harmless provision is going to help us, but it's still going to be impactful based on the numbers that she shared tonight. That's all I wanted the board to hear. Thank you.
Board, do you have any further questions? Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you, Ms. Cummings.
Okay. We go to item A2, STAR testing waiver update.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
One moment. Because it went to sleep.
Coming?
We're ready now. Sorry about that. This evening, I will be joined by Mr. Grammer and Dr. Griffin in discussing our recommendation to pursue 2-star testing waivers. However, what I would like to share with you, since we were together last month, we have engaged in multiple deep conversations about the benefits of these testing waivers, to include our principals, our teachers, and yesterday we met with DEIC. And what I will share with you is that the consensus is that we not include our elementary students in the pursuit of our waiver request. And that's specifically our K1 and 2 students. Clearly, they're our youngest kids. They're our very youngest kids. And what we recognize is that even for 2 days of remote learning, it could pose a hardship on parents and also for the young children. So what we're going to share with you this evening, there are still 2 waivers with lots of words in them. But the first waiver is the high school waiver, the 9 through 12. And then the second one, the hybrid instruction during district testing, even though it's K through 8, we're actually just going to be asking for grades 6 through 8. And that's what Mr. Grammer and Dr. Griffin will help provide you all a little more in-depth detail as to what that actually looks like. But as I mentioned last month, the purpose of the waivers is essentially to require students who would not be testing on a state testing day to learn remotely. And the reason behind that is to create smaller learning environments, safer learning environments, and also increase our remote learners to come to school and take the test. Now, even though the commissioner has said they don't have to do it, we have reached out to every one of our remote learners, and we have favorable feedback that they will come and take the test. Some other benefits, of course, having smaller groups of students on our campus does risk the potential COVID exposure for in-person students, and certainly those that are medically fragile that will be coming to our campuses to take the test. And having smaller groups of students provides for smaller testing classrooms, but that's for all students, but also it helps us support those required small groups that we have been providing for students, for example, oral administration or other types of accommodations that they may have. One other benefit is that by having fewer students on our campus, we have access to all of our teachers to help us be test administrators, and that eliminates the need for us to bring in substitutes. So with that, if you have any questions about these general benefits, I'll just be certain to answer those.
Boyd, do you have any questions? I have I have a comment.
Oh, sure.
I would just say, in a regular, normal school year, I mean, with testing administration, any campus is already stretched thin as it is. When you have the staff or administrations, you have small group administrations, paper administrations, online administrations, having to staff a restroom monitor. So even in a normal testing environment, you're already stretched so thin as it is. And so given when you throw in the impact of COVID and trying to keep a safe distance for every student, as well as our staff members, and making sure they're safe, I mean, this is definitely needed, in my opinion. So thank you for bringing that.
You're welcome. So next, Mr. Grammer?
Okay, so I'm going to take just a second, and I'll be very brief, but I just want to give you some specific high school information. The first page that you're seeing there basically tells you the breakdown of what students will be on campus on specific days and what students will be learning asynchronously. So the idea is on April 6th, for example, we'll be testing English 1, where we have about 610 testers and retesters that day. So if you take our total enrollment and subtract that 610, understand that this could vary. We may have an increase or decrease by that time, but that would leave 1,289 learners learning asynchronously. Teachers would post assignments in teams for students to work on, which they already do, so it wouldn't require any additional requirements of teachers. Then we have the entire staff to help us administer the test, and we can move students around the building. But that's basically how the process will work. We'll be testing in classrooms rather than in gymnasiums in a much more, I don't know if the right word is intimate environment, but that's what we're talking about.
Certainly more conducive to the testing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, smaller environment.
And so the next thing I want to show you is just how this will impact students that'll be in asynchronous. Now, again, I want to, there's a caveat to this, that this can vary because in general, freshmen will have 2 days that they'll be learning asynchronously. They take the English 1 test, they take the biology test, and they take the algebra 1 test. They don't take the U.S. history and the English 2. So those 2 days they would be learning asynchronously. While the 10th grade only takes the English 2 test, so that would mean 4 days of asynchronous learning for them. Now, understand that this is spread over 2 months. This is not all in 1 week. You're going to have some of this in April and some of this in May. Now, I will say that, again, this could vary because we have some seniors who are still testing. We have some juniors who are taking more than just the 1 test. So not every senior is going to get 5 days. Some may get 3, some may get 2. It just depends on where they're at as far as passing the assessments. We also have AP testing going on during that time, so some of our other students who are in AP classes may be on campus additionally for AP testing.
So, if I may, Mr.
Sure.
Grammer, and I know everyone understands this, but the difference in STAR at the early grade levels and the EOC is that the end of course exams are all for graduation purposes.
Yes.
And so you made a very good point.
Yeah.
Sometimes a senior may need a freshman class, a sophomore class, and a junior class.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they've just not been successful on those tests. And so
Right.
That's very important to notice.
And one of the things that, and Dr. Wadley mentioned this as well, that's very critical for the high school, is that there's been, in my opinion, and there's been a little bit of miscommunication out there when the commissioner said that students could opt out. He didn't use the term opt out, but he said students didn't have to come in for the test. They never excused the students from the test.
Right.
They still have to take the test and they still have to pass the test to graduate. It's not, you don't get an opt-out year. They're not granting that. They're just saying parents
That
obviously.
student will be faced with those same tests this
Yes,
time next
yes,
year
yeah.
if they don't show up.
And quite frankly, that's the same every year. If
Yeah.
a parent refuses to bring their student in for the test, that's the case. They can do that any year, not just on a COVID year,
Right.
but they still have to pass the
But I
test.
could see where that miscommunication could really affect graduation.
Yes.
But we're doing.
We're
our
communicating
part.
to our parents and our students that this is absolutely a necessary thing that they must do. They have to take these tests.
Question.
Sure.
After just hearing Ms. Cumbie's report, and these students that used to be back in the classroom again, and now they're going to be told, take their computers home, and they're going to be asynchronous for a certain amount of days. This is a terrible question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
It's okay.
How is the attendance recorded, and what keeps them from just taking their day and not working asynchronous?
That's a really good question. So using the Teams application, we can track whether a student has logged in and participated in the class every day. We have a way to track that, and we actually have some self-reporting requirements we do for students saying that they've engaged in every class, but we can actually look in Teams. There's a report, and Eddie can probably tell you the name of the report, I don't remember, but we look in there and it tells us if that student's engaged that day, so we can monitor that.
And they got to 11:59 p.m.
We have 11:59 p.m. to engage with us, absolutely.
And it's also, it may not be totally similar, but it's similar to what we do for our kids that are in quarantine.
Yes,
correct?
it's exactly what we do.
So we have kids coming and going all the time now, and we actually have a great plan on how we can keep up with those students.
Yeah.
It's that other group I was talking about that we can't figure out what
Right.
to do with. But I think you have a good system for that. But that was a very good question.
And Mr. Grammer, my son is up there as a junior, and he has to be on line for roll call each day, each time for each class period in order to get credit.
Yeah, some
and
teachers are
stuff,
very
so-
much more strict, and we don't,
So,
you
yeah.
know, if teachers want to have some higher standards, we certainly don't discourage that.
So they're being held accountable.
Yeah.
They're being held accountable.
Absolutely. So the rationale for this, and I think we've talked about this some, but I'll go ahead and touch it again, is it'll provide a safer testing environment, we believe, that's more conducive to student success on the STAR end of course assessment during the pandemic. So, as you know, this has been a difficult year for our students, teachers and students alike, but it's been a difficult year, and so we want to provide the best environment we can for these students to try to provide an environment they have a better chance of being successful. And rather than sticking them in a gym, like we usually do in mass testing, we're able to do it in classrooms of about 10 students with a couple of teachers in there to monitor. You know, we teach in the classroom and testing in the classroom. It makes really good sense. Now, it's hard to do every year, but we're looking at things for next year too as well. But we want every opportunity for our students to be successful. It also will make our medically fragile students that are not on campus more comfortable because they'll never have to interact with the rest of our student population. We'll have a separate area where they go and they won't have to interact. And also, mass testing puts our students at risk because we'll have a couple of hundred students in the same room for an extended period of time, 4 to 5 hours. And so if they go to classrooms, we can control that a little better and we can distance better. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you some other benefits that are kind of, by the way, it helps us here too. You may or may not know that in 22-23, the state plans to move all testing online. So there won't have the paper and pencil test. There'll be some exceptions to that, obviously, for certain students, but they allow us to go ahead and move that direction this year. And so we thought, what a great opportunity to go ahead and be prepared. We have the technology. Our technology department has us prepared, and so we thought, well, why not do that? Being in this smaller environment with 1 or 2 teachers with about 10 kids, they can provide much more technology support to those students. They can make sure their laptops are charged. It can be as that simple. You know, we can have plenty of plugs for them to charge their laptops, make sure they're logging into the right website, and just monitoring those students better. And so that's our rationale for it, but there are some, I don't want to leave out that there are some additional benefits. So if you have any other questions, I'm ready to hear those, or any comments.
I was going to ask about the medically fragile, and you answered it already.
Okay, well, good. All right, well then, Dr. Griffin, if you want to come up and share about your plan.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, there it is. The good news is that all of the benefits, the rationale, and the plan that Carlin just went over would go without a doubt through K through 8 as well. But we definitely understand that there are a lot of challenges, just like Dr. Wadley alluded to. You know, in my own life, I have a kid who attends Heritage Elementary, and if 4 days I had to come up with a plan for him, that was a hardship for me, and I'm the principal of the school. So I definitely understand that. However, if my student was a 6th grader or a 7th grader, I would not have those same challenges. And so we definitely thought about that. We had a lot of discussions between the elementary principals, the junior high principals, the teachers on all the campuses, and just really try to come up with what was the best situation we could put for all of our students based on the hardships that it may cause versus the benefit that we would receive from those things. And so having gone through that, just like Dr. Wadley said, we did decide that it was probably not the best move for our elementary students, but we do think that there's a lot of benefit for the 6th through 8th grade campuses.
excuse me, unfortunately, we also kind of came to the conclusion that asking for every day for the junior high test might put some of our students in just to give you an example, if we had a waiver day for every time that the 8th graders had a test for 7th grade students, that would put them out of the classroom 5 days for this testing season, and we just felt like that was a little too much for the benefit. But you know, all the same benefits that you get for the technology, we're also online testing, just like Mr. Yonda said very eloquently. You know, we're stretched thin on testing days, and so we are asking for 2 days for each of the different groups. And the reason why we chose those 2 days is on the math and reading testing days, we are math and reading testing 3 through 8th grade. And so the amount of sub and things that are available on those days is very, very limited. And so we thought if we could just get the 2 days for the math and reading, that it would kind of ease that burden across the district. And so we are asking for that. 6th grade, we're having to break the 6th grade group into 2 different groups. Obviously, it's a 1 grade level campus, so for them to be able to receive that same benefit, we would have a 6th grade A group and a 6th grade B group, and they would follow the same pattern as the 7th and 8th grade. For those testing days. And so those are the numbers that of kids that would be testing in person on the days, and then the ones that would be asynchronous. I do want to just call attention to 7th grade math. That number may look a little small. It's because we have a large number of students who are in the 7th grade who take 8th grade math because of math acceleration. Right. And then on the 8th grade math day, while that number is larger than the other 2 days, it's not as large as you would think, and that's because those 8th graders are taking algebra, so they're on a different day as well. And so that's why the number might look a little funny. And then kind of in closing, one of the things that is true for my campus and Carlin's campus is an alternative plan for a non-tester who has to be on campus. If there's something that a parent doesn't feel comfortable with them staying at their house, they can't find another situation for that supervision, we have a plan where we will be able to take those students on campus, put them in another location, and they'll be able to work on their asynchronous work on campus if they can't provide for themselves on their own.
That's great.
And I think you can't ask for more than that, you know.
And so, there are no, are there any more questions for me?
Yeah, you kind of addressed a little bit on that with that slide, but being that we're having a lot of students going through, going back to asynchronous learning, some students at home may not have internet capabilities and all that, and this may be an Eddie Hill question, but what, as far as what we're going to be able to provide for those students and making sure that they're not losing any kind of instruction during those days due to financial situations.
And that was something that was also brought up whenever we were discussing with the elementary. All the junior highs are one-to-one. All of our students do have a laptop. So for sure, all of them have that. And so any student that does need a hotspot, we have been asked by Eddie to send them to the technology department and we'll be able to get one for them as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sounds like y'all really looked at this upside down and from every angle.
And board, I'd like to say, they have looked at it upside down. But more than that, I think the uniqueness of being in Laporte ISD, we can pull this off. You know, this is not a district with 118,000 kids or 50,000. Those folks are struggling even more because there's just that many more kids. I think the uniqueness of who we are and where we are, we can do these kinds of things. I watched these principals get together with these executive directors and all of the folks in the ad building, what have you, and their campus staff, and work this out from the bottom up. Because really, if the truth be told, there was no true direction, am I correct, guys? From the very, very, very top. And so you just figure it out. And I think every school district in the state right now is just trying to figure out their way. But I'm very, very proud of y'all, and I appreciate the work that y'all have done to come up with a plan that really puts students first. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, we will now move to item 8, consent agenda. Determine and approve any consent agenda items. B, approve board meeting minutes. Number 1, regular board meeting minutes, February 9, 2021. 2, special board meeting minutes, February 22nd, 2021. C, receive principals' reports. Number 1, the Early Childhood Center. 2, Bayshore Elementary. 3, College Park Elementary, 4, Heritage Elementary, 5, Jenny Reed Elementary, 6, Laporte Elementary, 7, Leo A. Rizzuto Elementary, 8, Lomax Elementary, number 9, James H. Baker 6th grade campus, number 10, Laporte Junior High, number 11, Lomax Junior High, number 12, Laporte High School, number 13, Ville DeWalt High School. D, receive financial reports for February 2021. E, receive human resources report. F, approve budget amendment. G, approve employment of professional staff. H, approve amended 2020-2021 T-test list of teacher appraisers. I, approve change order for the purchase of virtual classroom and web administrator site licenses for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year. J, approve missed school days waiver. K, approve resale of tax foreclosure property described as Lot 17, Block 105 of the Laporte, Harris County, Texas, as per map or plat of said city. In addition, on file in the office of the Harris County Clerk, account number 023-217-005-0017. L, approve second reading and adoption of TASB Policy Update 116, affecting local policy CQB local, DCD local, DCE local, FFAC local, and GKA local. M, adopt a resolution number 2021-04 related to Winter Storms Uri and Viola for the period of Monday, February 15, 2021 through Friday, February 19, 2021. And adopt the resolution number 2021-05 appointing May 1st, 2021 election officials, and I wish to have that pulled, please. And if you could read back the consent agenda, please.
Sure will. Okay, we are looking at number 8B, C, 1 through 13, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and M.
Okay. Board, any discussion? Okay, we're going to seek a motion.
So moved.
Okay, Ms. Green and
second.
Ms. Thompson seconded. Okay, board, we'll call for the vote, and Chelsea, if you could state your... Okay, she just texted yes, and is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we go to item N, approve a resolution number 2021-05, appointing May 1st, 2021 election officials. I don't know if every board member received a copy of this, but we need to add 2 names to be appointed as deputy early voting clerks to Exhibit A of the resolution. The names are Megan Mays and Donna DuPont. And if you have any questions, I think Ms. Oliveras would be happy to answer any questions you may have on that. Okay?
Okay, so you need a motion.
Going to need a motion to
amend.
add those 2 names, yes.
Can you tell me the name?
Sure.
I would like to amend item N and make a motion that we add Megan Mays and Donna DuPont as deputy early voting clerks to Exhibit A on our resolution 2021-05.
Okay, Ms. Thompson has made a motion. Let's see a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Shoppy has seconded. And we call for the vote. Ms. Chauncey, if you're...
She said yes.
Okay. Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you. We go to item 9, action or discussion items. A, consider and approve possible amendments to superintendent's contract.
I'd like to move that we approve the amendments that were discussed in closed session to the superintendent's current contract.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Green made the motion, seconded by Ms. Thompson. We'll call for the vote. And Charleston?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Unanimous? Thank you. We go. Item B, approve hybrid instruction during district scheduled testing days for kindergarten to 8th grade students waiver.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Ms. Green, seconded by Mr. Wallace. Okay. And so we have a motion. We'll call for the vote. And I'm sure Ms. Wheeler?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Wheeler said yes, so it is unanimous. Okay. Item C, approve request for 40% campus hybrid instruction for 9th to 12th grade students waiver.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Shopping. And call for the vote. And Ms. Wheeler?
Yes.
Yes. For Ms. Wheeler, and so it is unanimous. Thank you. And we go to D, discuss Governor Abbott's executive order relating to the opening of Texas in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Walter Jackson?
So Board, we all know what the governor has opened back, and tomorrow will be the day. And so I thought it was befitting that we would at least place it on the agenda to have any comments or concerns brought to the die tonight. For the most part, we kind of know what school districts are doing throughout the state, and just would like to hear from the board your pleasure.
I say we maintain where we are now.
Absolutely.
It would be pointless to change in the middle of the game. I think the kids are fairly used to it, and to ask them to change now, plus it's a risk to the teachers and the kids, I think, and the principals. Oh, the whole staff.
And there's only 50 days left after spring break. We can make it.
We can make it.
Yeah.
So if it's the pleasure of the board, there's no vote that needs to be taken. You give the superintendent that privilege to make certain we send the message that we will continue with the protocols that we already have in place. There's no need for a board vote. But I did want to give the board an opportunity to kind of tell me what's your pleasure. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, I think, I'm sure all of us have been contacted by different parents and teachers and different friends that we have throughout the district, and the consensus seems to be that we need to stay with what we've been doing. We've had such a low percentage of infection rate. You know, everyone from maintenance to the bus drivers to nutrition to the school nurses to, you know, to the principal to the front desk person, to every single person has worked so hard to accomplish that. It seems, you know, fruitless to just throw it out the window at this point with such few days left. It's like, yes, we can reassess in the summertime before we start school next year, and hopefully the infection rates in Harris County will be even lower. We'll have more people immunized, and you know, hopefully then we can return to some sense of normalcy. But I agree with Mr. Wallace that we should finish the year with the protocol that we've been operating under.
I had a conversation with a high school senior, young lady, very well spoken, and it seemed like she knew what the pulse was in the school. And she said that their intent is to be able to have graduation.
Yes.
They want to have their prom.
Mm-hmm.
She said they'll do whatever it takes to maintain.
And so will we.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Board, any further comments?
You can see what I think.
So if it pleases the board, I'll communicate with our community and our staff that we will continue moving forward with what we already have in place. And I do believe that it will certainly relax some anxiety of some folks that I've also heard from parents and stakeholders as well. And so I'll communicate that, and certainly you will be a part of that communication. Okay. So thank you, board.
Good.
Okay, we move to item 10, action on closed session items. I don't believe we have any, so we will now go to item 11, and looking at the clock, it looks like we're adjourning at 7:50 p.m. Yeehaw!